And joining me for a look at the day's market action is Ricus Reeders from PSG Hole-in-One Ruimsig. Thank you so much for your time, Ricus. Quite a lot that's happening in the markets today. Let's actually start off with that U.S. inflation print that came out in line with expectations in November. 2.7%, of course, still away from the 2% target from the Fed. Just talk to me about this print and really how you think it will influence the Fed going forward, if it will, particularly looking at the fact that they have their monetary policy meeting coming soon or taking place.
Next week?
Next week, yes, next week, yes.
Well, the expectation is, 90% that they will do it 0.25 basis cut. So it came in line with expectations. The American markets are reacting positively to it. I see the S&P is up about 1.5%. Sorry, the Nasdaq up about 1.5%, and the S&P up 0.7%. So the market likes that, and specifically your consumer cyclicals, because it's obviously good news for that kind of company. That's in the lead at the moment.
All right. Well,
the American.
All right. Well, let's take it back home, Ricus, because you also had good news on this front. In fact, of course, there was a slight uptick from October in the South African inflation print in November. But actually, even that rise was actually below what markets had anticipated. Talk to me about your view on this, and also just that downward surprise that we saw.
Yes, so the upwards momentum is slowing down, which is great. I see core inflation actually didn't go up at all, which is also good. And you tie that in with what was the number with retail sales that was way above expectations. It caused your consumer sector on our market today to have quite a nice little rally on the back of that. So we're sitting with an all share that's closed up about just below 0.2% up. So a good day in the markets, both locally, overseas. The Europeans managed to turn early losses into a positive move as well as we end, or as we go towards their close of session.
Yeah, and the rand is looking quite good as well. Just a quick comment there on retail sales, although it does come from October, but just really your view on the health of the consumer right now, looking at those retail sales.
Well, I think some of it, or I speculate that some of it has got to do with your two-pot system on retirement, on the retirement side that's come in. So obviously that puts money into the pockets of consumer, and they're going to spend. Long may it last. If you're a shareholder in any of those companies, it's a good idea for their retirement purposes. Obviously the debate is surrounding that. But be that as it may, it's been a positive influence on the market in consumer shares, and it bodes well for the results in the future.
All right. Well, let's talk about the future, because on the JSE might be losing. What seems like the JSE is losing one more counter, and that is Barloworld, one of the biggest movers on the day. The share price up about 16%, and of course they had been a cautionary for the last few months, having a company that has made a firm offer for Barloworld. Your view on that and the investor reaction?
Well, obviously on the back of the news, the price has jumped. I think 108, 110. The offer is at 120 rand. Still a lot of hoops to jump through before that finally gets approved. So the announcement is good, but cautionary. In other words, is it going to go through or not? Who knows these days with our regulatory bodies? Just take a look at what happened with, for example, the whole Vodacom and Remgro fiber deal that was just reversed. So I'm not counting chickens there before they hatch. It's a pity to lose Barlow from a sentimental side of things. They've been listed for yonkers, but where they once were, part of our top market cap shares, I mean, over the years they've been reduced to the small cap sector effectively. So it's the loss of a prominent name, but not a prominent investment vehicle, if I
Yeah.
may put it that way.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the other company news. We did have British American Tobacco coming out with a trading update, assuming that the second half was a good one, seeing a more acceleration in terms of growth in their new categories division, saying that they will meet a full year guidance. Your insights on the growth trajectory of this company?
Well, they've had a good recovery in share price since their lows of the year. They're up about 30% from their lows this year. So the results were as expected, as you've said, and the price has not reacted because
Yeah.
everybody sort of expected.
Yeah.
As far as the future growth trajectory is concerned, if you take a look at the update, the volumes of their cigarette sales are still going down. They're obviously aware of that, and they're trying to replace that with new products, whether it be heat not burn or uh, or some of the other new products. Whether it will probably help, but it's not a growth company. It's still delivering good dividends, but it's not something that um, I think it's a sunset industry, so I'm not very interested in that. That being said, if you compare the valuation of British American Tobacco versus Altria and Philip Morris and those companies, it's still heavily discounted against those. So there
Okay.
might be the possibility of a re-rating, but I can't really see why it should.
All right. Well, Ricus, let us get to your stock pick for today. What are you hanging your hats on?
We had the Saki Business Confidence Index earlier this week, and it's looking very promising. And one of the shares, if you go back decades, that's performed very well during periods of very good business confidence, it's Udeco,
Okay.
which might sound boring because it's an asset-light industrial product type of provided to other companies, but it will benefit from a turn in the business cycle. And on the other hand, it's also pretty defensive when things are not going well. Very good dividend yield, and I expect very good results start of next year.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis on what has moved investors' money today. Ricus, that was Ricus Reeders from PSG Hole in One Ruimsig.